The Super Bowl is one of the world's most expensive advertising stages, and this year, a new company, IA.com, made its debut with a launch backed by an immense investment. The goal, of course, was to capture the attention of millions, but what actually happened became a major cautionary tale. So in this explainer, we're going to conduct a RedHub AI analysis of the IA.com launch, its underlying technology, and its very public failure. So just how much are we talking about here? The total investment for this launch was, well, massive. We're looking at an estimated $85 million. Now, our analysis of public reports shows that this breaks down into two huge chunks. A reported $70 million just for the AI.com domain name, and another $15 million for that one-minute ad during the Super Bowl. And the public reaction? It was instant. This quote you see here really circulated online, and it just captures the sentiment perfectly. It highlights this really painful irony, right? You have this enormous marketing budget completely undermined by what seems like a basic technical oversight. The quote mentions auto-scaling, and for anyone not familiar, that's just a system's ability to automatically add more server power when traffic spikes. It's a pretty standard feature for any big launch, and it seems like it was the missing piece of the puzzle here. Okay, so to really unpack what happened here and why it's so important, we've structured our analysis into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the launch failure itself. Then, we'll define what AI agents actually are. After that, we'll get into the anatomy of the site crash, explore the history of that very expensive domain name, and finally, we'll share RedHub's final takeaway from all of this. All right, let's dive into our first section, the launch failure. We'll start by reconstructing exactly what happened on launch night. The Super Bowl gives you, the biggest audience you could possibly ask for. But that massive spotlight also ended up magnifying the failure in a huge way. So the ad airs, and just as it finishes, tens of millions of people are prompted to visit the site. And what happens? A massive, predictable wave of traffic hits their servers. The platform just couldn't handle that kind of influx. Almost immediately, users started reporting that the site was either totally down or they were just stuck in these endless loops, unable to even sign up. So the company's single biggest marketing moment turned into a very public, very immediate service outage. Now, to really assess what went wrong, we have to understand the product they were actually launching. The big promise was a platform for something called AI agents. So what exactly is an AI agent? Let's define that term before we go any further. Okay, based on RedHub AI research, it's really important we get this definition right. An AI agent is not just another chatbot. Think of it more as a system that's designed to act on its own. It can perceive its environment, it can take autonomous actions to achieve specific goals, and it can even improve its own performance by learning. This is the core technology that AI.com was supposed to be launching. But the company's messaging around this technology was, well, it was framed with some very ambitious, very buzzword-heavy language. They were talking about accelerating the arrival of AGI, or artificial general intelligence. That's the whole idea of an AI with human-like cognitive abilities. And this created a really big gap between the grand, world-changing vision they were selling and the practical reality of what their launch day infrastructure could actually handle. All right, that brings us to the technical breakdown, the anatomy of the site crash. Our RedHub analysis shows a cascade of events that, honestly, were pretty predictable for a launch of this magnitude. So let's walk through this step by step. First, the Super Bowl ad airs. That leads to step 2, a massive influx of users all at once. Now here's the critical part, step 3. The site's only sign-up option was through Google authentication. This created a huge bottleneck. When that flood of sign-up requests hit Google's systems, it likely triggered their automatic rate limiting, which is just a protective measure they have to prevent abuse. But for AI.com, it meant their entire sign-up process was effectively shut down. This created a single point of failure, which led to the final step, the site becoming unusable for pretty much every new person trying to get in. The company's CEO later said, "We had prepared for scale, but not for this." He essentially attributed the problem to hitting Google's global rate limits. And while our RedHub analysis agrees that throttling from Google is a plausible reason for the bottleneck, it also points to a more fundamental issue. Relying on a single external provider for something as critical as signups with absolutely no backup or redundancy was a major and, frankly, avoidable architectural flaw. So that begs the question, why spend $70 million on a domain name in the first place? To understand that, we need to look at the history of AI.com. This domain isn't just a web address. In the AI industry, it has acted as a kind of kingmaker, a signal of who's at the top. And this timeline really shows what we mean. For a while, AI.com just redirected straight to OpenAI's ChatGPT, which helped cement their position as the market leader. Then, for a short time, it pointed to a popular tech influencer's video about OpenAI's Sora model. After that, it briefly redirected to Google's Gemini, signaling a direct challenge to OpenAI. Most recently, it pointed to an emerging player called DeepSeek. Our research shows that each one of these changes was a signal of a power shift in the AI landscape. Owning this domain is a public declaration of leadership.
This whole incident has drawn a lot of comparisons to a past era of tech hype. RedHub's analysis shows some really striking parallels to the dot-com bubble. You had the Pets.com Super Bowl ad back then, and now you have the AI.com ad. In both cases, there was this intense focus on eyeballs, or the promise of AGI is coming, with massive spending on marketing, domains, and ads. But the common thread is a neglect of the fundamental infrastructure. It's a classic lesson. Spending a fortune on marketing without a solid technical foundation is a recipe for failure. And it's a lesson that seems to be repeating itself in today's AI hype cycle.
So, what's the big lesson here? What's the main takeaway from this $85 million crash? Well, it really serves as a powerful case study for the entire AI industry. RedHub's final takeaway is this: the AI.com failure is a perfect case study of the widening gap between really ambitious AI marketing and the actual reality of technical execution. In this huge race to capitalize on all the AI hype, fundamental engineering principles, things like redundancy and building a robust architecture, simply cannot be an afterthought. And this really leaves us with the critical question for the entire industry to think about. Does the constant pursuit of AGI marketing come at the cost of basic product reliability? As more companies sell these grand visions of world-changing tech, are they forgetting about the less glamorous but absolutely essential work of just building systems that actually work at scale? For a much deeper dive into the technical breakdown of this launch, and for more of our analysis on AI agents and market trends, you can read the full article over on RedHub AI.